what are you watching right now?
Well, we're watching the market. Stocks fell today. The Naira also fell. After oscillating between gains and losses, Naira fell to an all-time low of 176 per dollar. But after the CBN came in to intervene, the Naira went up to 173. Still closed at 173.3, which is quite low. It's kind of like the all-time low for a while. The markets are not believing the CBN when it says, it seems to me like the markets are not believing the CBN when it says that it's going to intervene and hold up the Naira at all costs at a certain level, which is 155 plus or minus 3%. The Naira has clearly broken through that CBN band, and there seems to be a credibility gap on the CBN with the Naira.
Okay. How are the markets reacting to the finance minister's weekend message on falling oil prices?
Okay, as we all know, the oil prices are down like 28% since June, right? So oil is Nigeria's biggest export. It makes up about like 5% of dollar earnings, about 70% of the budget. Now, the finance minister came over the weekend and announced some special measures which will help tide the country over until oil prices begin to rebound. So the budget was cut by about 6% to 4.6 trillion. There's going to be a cut on unnecessary expenses, and more importantly, the budget benchmark was reduced to $73 for 2015 from around 78.5 for this year. Now, again, markets are not believing these moves, right? The country is so heavily dependent on oil for the federal budget and the value of the Naira that any further fall in oil, and the markets are signaling, oil prices are signaling that there will be further fall in prices. So the markets just feel like the bottom is not here yet. There are also some speculative positions against the Naira, some dealers in Treasury say, which means that a lot of investors are positioned negatively against the Naira, and they're not believing that either the CBN or the finance minister has the ability to go against the global markets. Basically, Nigeria is caught up in this environment whereby after almost 40-50 years, we've not been able to diversify our economy away from oil at the federal spending level and the state government spending level. So what does this mean, right? There's going to be reduced spending at all tiers of government. So there might be a contraction in GDP next year. We don't know how much. We're thinking it might shave off close to 1% from GDP. But it also depends on what policy reaction that the government decides to take. The government can actually run, while it's tightening on recurrent expenditure, which is often wasteful, right? We estimate about 30% of the budget, if not more, is wasted on unnecessary travels and escapades and all that. So if the government can tighten on that part and channel some of the funds to capital expenditure, and then also run, we're doing about 1% of GDP in deficits this year. The government can, as a way of stimulus to the economy, run a larger deficit next year, right? So it could do 2%, 2.5% within the medium-term economic framework parameters. That should help in the short term. But in the long run, there's no alternative to diversifying the economy.
Okay. So, are the finance minister and CBN intervention enough to stop decline in the Naira and the sell-off of Nigerian assets?
In the short term, no, right? So, what the CBN and the finance minister have announced are what they think the market will do. Well, the market can do much worse, right? So, the finance minister is saying $73 for oil, right? But the oil could go, the barrel benchmark, right? So the oil could go as low as 50. As a matter of fact, Goldman Sachs came out and said today that oil, the OPEC producers are in a dilemma as regards oil prices, because even if they decide to cut, at the next meeting in November 27th, that it's only going to lead to a little bit of higher prices, then that will lead to the shale guys producing more, and then again prices will now fall down. So it's a bit of a dilemma. So we don't think 73 is the low for oil prices, even though there are some potentially bullish scenarios coming up, right? You have the Western Hemisphere winter, right, coming up in December. You have the talks with Iran. That could be either bullish or the nuclear talks could actually either bearish or bullish, depending on how it goes. But the thing is, this is, in our opinion, the shale production from the U.S. is actually a game changer, and Nigerian authorities have to think, more strategically of what that means for the economy going forward.
Okay. What should we expect next in this OPEC meeting?
Okay, OPEC is meeting on November 27th. So OPEC is a group of oil producers that have formed a cartel. Not all the oil producers in the world, but it's a certain group of them, about 8 or 9 or 10 members. Now, the thing about OPEC is Saudi Arabia is the major swing producer in OPEC, right? So they have the power to really move the market. But there are also different interests in OPEC, right? So Saudi's interest is not the same as Iran's interest, not the same as Iraq's interest, or even Nigeria. So it's going to be a very acrimonious meeting, in our opinion. And OPEC at this stage is becoming more and more relevant to global oil markets. OPEC production as a percentage of global oil, total global oil production is below 40%. It used to be above 50 in the 1970s. So they are becoming less and less important as a driver of prices. But the market will still pay attention to what OPEC does. There might be a slight cut coming out of the meeting announced, but we don't think anything major will affect the oil prices at the OPEC meeting next.
Thank you for joining us, and join us next time on Street Level.